I'm a business owner first and a designer second. And design is the product, but building a business is trust. So I think the most valuable asset we bring to our clients is the trust we give in guiding them through this incredibly important financial and emotional decision.
After a career in sales, my guest today channeled her business experience to launch her own firm in 2014. As the founder and principal designer of Amy Kartheiser Design, Amy Kartheiser has built a thriving design firm that reflects both her creative eye and her entrepreneurial spirit. In this episode, we talk about the latest trends in interior design, simple hacks and projects that make a big impact, and the powerful mission behind her nonprofit. Stick around for Rapid Fire, where we break down what design trends are in, what's out, and what fills Amy's cup outside of work. Hey, Amy, thank you so much for being on Core Values. I'm actually so excited because, as a lot of people out there know, I renovated my house with my family about 1.5 years ago, and all I do is talk about design and what we're going to do next in our house, and it drives my family crazy.
Well,
this is going to be a little bit of therapy for me today, too, I think.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully I can help answer some of those questions for you then.
Yeah.
Free advice.
Yay. I love it. I love it. All right, well, let's talk a little bit. You started a design firm after a career in business, but let's kind of back up a little bit. I kind of want to understand, how did you get the design bug?
Well, my mom raised 6 children, and then when...
So did my mom.
Oh, did
so
she?
many similarities.
Yeah.
And she named an Amy. What a great mom.
That is true,
right?
What number were you?
5.
Me too.
Oh my God.
There
we
we
didn't
go.
even know this before today,
No, that's
people.
crazy.
Oh my God. See?
Yeah.
This is going to be great.
It's going to be easy. So after my youngest sibling was born, my mom actually went back to school to do interior design. So my mom was an interior designer. And I think my dad looked at it more like it was a hobby. And so, and I was also, this is a whole other podcast, but I was kind of a project for my dad. So my dad was kind of leading me in a direction to be an engineer, and I didn't really even know what engineering was.
Yes.
So I went to Purdue for that. And I got out in the business world. I did not like engineering. I called my dad in tears.
And why?
I mean, as you could tell, was not my thing. But I have taken away processes. I will say that is one thing I took away from engineering, is processes that still matter and run my business today. So there is some silver lining to that.
Yeah.
But my mom, I always look at it. I grew up in Mount Prospect, very wonderful middle-class community. And I always thought we had the most beautiful home in the neighborhood. And my mom had a really beautiful style. I thought our house was just to die for. And I was so proud, even though we didn't have a huge home, but I was just so proud to have friends come over.
Yeah.
And, fast forward, I was in the business area. I was in sales. And I think sales is the perfect background for any business. I mean, you have to learn how to deal and talk with people in any area of life. So I think it was a great place to start my career. And when I was in my late 20s, I was doing well. I had moved from the hospital supply industry into tech, and I bought my first condominium in Lincoln Park, and I, hired my mom to help me design it. And we spent a lot of time going to the Merchandise Mart, which she sometimes dragged me to as a kid. And I was like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Now it all came into context.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Now you're
it
like,
was like,
let's
this
go.
is so fun.
Yeah.
And I loved everything about what we were doing. And I just looked at her. I was like, why did I not know that this was actually something I could do? And so I decided to make a shift because I loved everything about it. I mean, I loved walking to the showrooms. I loved designing the spaces. I loved picking out fabrics and furniture and learning about her space plans and scale and all of that. My mom was a wonderful teacher during this period too, without even knowing it. So I started actually moonlighting because I couldn't quite afford to jump ship. I still needed to pay for my home. And I started moonlighting with her and also taking some classes on the side. So when I got to a point where I thought, okay, I can make this shift, I actually went and worked with her full time. So she was, for the most part, and I would say that for any business, you really learn most of your stuff when you're on site, when you're, especially interior design, when you're talking to the contractors, the clients, the architects, and you're with the team and you're learning how fabrics should be applied to furnishings and how they should be applied as a window treatment and what materials matter where and how all of it works and sings together. So she was probably the best school I could have asked for. So we worked together for 9 years, and then I had children, and I went part-time with my son. I stayed home a couple days a week, and then I had a daughter 2.5 years later, and I thought I was going to be back to work, and I told her, give me 3 or 4 weeks. And the weeks and the months kept going, and I just really loved being at home with my kids. During that time, my mom decided to kind of hang up her hat and allowed me the grace to stay home with my kids without too much pressure. So I still say that was my most favorite time of my life, hands down. But fast forward when my daughter got to school full time, and I realized that like being home without taking care of my children just wasn't going to work for me. So I called my husband at the time from the parking lot and said, I'd like to go back to work, but I'd like to work for myself. But I need to get my brain working again. I was really stuck in mom mode. And so we purchased an old home from the late 1800s in Lincoln Park. And we hired a contractor and an architect, and I designed the whole home. We gutted it. I mean, it was a 1.5-year renovation. We gutted it. And that home, lo and behold, got photographed, and it ended up in a magazine. And that's really how my business started. I mean, the architect called me as soon as the job was done and said, if you decide to open up your own firm, we would like to hire you for some work. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I got my LLC, and I sat at my kitchen table for a while. But just from that one publication, I got 2 full homes, one in the North Shore, one in the city. And, it's not the rest is history because there's a lot that's gone on in the last 11 years. But, now we're a team of 7. We've got a great office in River North. And I feel so lucky every day to be doing what I'm doing and with who I'm doing it with, because my team is what really makes Amy Kartheiser Design sing, for sure.
That's such a great story, and I loved so much about what you talked about being having the opportunity to work with your mom. And I think it's true for real estate agents as well. It's like you can take the test, you can memorize things and practice everything, but nothing's going to replace the real live experience of seeing, touching, feeling, which is probably a lot of what you had to do and also how much, whether you liked it or not, how much the engineering background, I would say, probably did help you and has helped you, because you reference things like looking at a space, from the spatial component, sizing. And I can tell you, I know I've made my own mistakes where we, kind of eyeball a room and we buy a couch and then it shows up and it's like, this isn't going to work.
Right.
And what's the return policy,
right?
So there are a lot of those technical and even mathematical components, right? So I think what's interesting is, again, I think similar to a lot of real estate agents, there is a lot of both sides of the brain that go on in your business as in ours, right? Because there's the creative, the client service, it's a lot of EQ, understanding the emotional piece, but there is a lot of the process piece, right?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
You have to be good at, because you almost don't want the client to see that process, right?
Yeah, and you're at the end of the day, you're running a business. And I always say I'm a business owner first and an interior designer second. I'd say that's what my mom was lacking. She was super creative, but she didn't. I mean, I was like, I am not coming to work for you until you get a laptop or a computer and you get an email address, So, and she was still handwriting invoices, and that's just the way she'd always done it, and it had worked for her. So I kind of helped move her into more of a business structure, and she helped me more on the creative side. So it was a great partnership while it lasted.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And I do think it's important because, kind of going back to what you had mentioned, that you had this great opportunity to have this house as probably your foray into your own interior design, right? From the ground up into the bones, looking at all of it, which is, incredible. But I think what was so fortunate for you is that you then were able to use that as a jumping off point, right? So all of a sudden you had interest. But I think the beauty and balance of so many businesses is, being able to get that opportunity that suddenly people are interested in you and what you do and what you have to offer, but having the infrastructure, the manpower, and the bandwidth. Because I think I've seen so many businesses where all of a sudden lightning strikes and it's really, they become the hot name or the hot designer, but it's like you can't handle the flow, right? So, so as a business owner right now, how, and to talk to a lot of the business owners that are probably listening to this, how do you manage that? I mean, you talk a little bit about systems, but what are some of the things that you do to kind of manage your office and your flow of your staff?
Well, I'd say at the very beginning, remember, it was kind of like fake it till you make it. I mean, I was at my kitchen table and I was working all the time. I'd pick up the kids from school, drop them off somewhere, spend time with them at dinner, and as soon as they went to bed, I was working. So it was until I started to get employees involved that I really learned, like I had said earlier, how important processes are in our business, especially in, I'm not saying not in real estate, but in design. I can't tell you how many touch points there are into renovating, building, creating just a single room in a home. One sofa could have over 100 touch points just for that one sofa. So our processes are very, very important, and we are always tweaking them. I mean, we added 2 new processes that, something doesn't quite work well or something goes wrong on site, and we're like, oh, what can we do to make that better? How does this not happen again?
Right.
So that is our biggest thing, within an office. I would say, building a business, I said this a little bit earlier, I'm a business owner first and a designer second. And design is the product, but building a business is trust. So I think the most valuable asset we bring to our clients is the trust we give in guiding them through this incredibly important financial and emotional decision. Renovating a house, buying a house. I don't know that there's anything bigger. I'm sure for some people, but for the majority of people, that is probably the biggest thing you're going to do. So you need to lead with clarity. You need to make sure your clients are understood and that they need to know that they come first. So I think that is more important. Consistency is more important than intensity. And I think when you show your clients that when you do what you say you're going to do it and you do it in the time manner that you say you're going to do it in, that is what matters. And then that's when you're building a consistent business. And that's where you get your referrals. That's where you get your repeat business. And that's quite frankly where you get your reputation.
Yeah. I mean, kudos. Honestly, I don't think you could have said it any better. And I think in the world that we're in as real estate agents, brokers, very similar. Again, we might be helping them to buy or sell a home, but it really is about the relationship, the reliability, the trust that they put in us. So very similar. I mean, we're obviously focusing on the same product in some ways. We're at just different points of access points of that. So let's talk a little bit about it, since, this is really an adjacent conversation, being that, homes are what you look at for a living once they're usually purchased with a real estate agent. I know you partner with a lot of real estate agents. What does this look like? Because we were talking kind of in prep for this conversation, and, I was just saying that I think sometimes buyers don't always know the first step of how to get a designer involved. And I feel like it's a very nice opportunity for their real estate agent to kind of expose them to those opportunities. And obviously there's all different types of budgets, but I am a real big believer that sometimes spending the time getting professional advice ends up saving you money in the long run, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of our agents have different people that they work with, from stagers to designers, but, what does it look like, or, what are some of the experiences that you've had that seem most successful when you're working with real estate agents as they introduce you to clients?
Sure. For us, it's kind of been in a manner of two ways. So we've had some real estate agents, just give our name out because maybe we have a relationship or they know of us, or they heard our name from somewhere else. Not all real estate agents have designers that they're familiar with. So we are so grateful when anyone has given our name out, of course. And then from that, we'll take it from there, and then we set up phone calls and meetings with the clients to kind of talk through what's important with them, how they like to live in their house. Are we a good fit? What is their budget? Budget is always such a hard conversation. I know you guys have to have it as well, but we are a steward to our clients' budgets all the time. So that is super important, that we're a good fit for them as they are for us. The other way that I've had meetings with real estate agents is they've put us on a list. So many of them do carry a list and have relationships with lots of designers, and they give that list to buyers, and those buyers will then probably do some digging and look at websites and Instagram accounts and maybe whittle down 10 to 5 or so, and then start making phone calls from there. Yeah. So that's just been our experience with it so far. And I'm always trying to build new relationships with real estate agents and welcome meetings with them all the time. Even if they can't meet in person, I've done Zooms with them too, just to share who we are and see if there might be a fit for them. And we're always looking for agents as well for our business, because we have clients who maybe are coming in from another state or maybe leaving from Chicago to the city proper to go to the suburbs. So we're always looking for people to partner with as well.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, it is kind of an adjacent business,
right.
And I think there's opportunity. Do you find that agents will pull you in to the process when the client is still considering the purchase, or do you find that most of the time it's client has bought the home and now they're kind of getting their heads around, now what do we do?
Yeah, the majority of the time it's after the purchase, but there have been a handful of times when we've been brought in while the client is making a decision on the home, so that we love doing this, so that we can walk through the home with them and we can talk to them about all the possibilities. Maybe they're unsure, maybe it's a renovation and they're not understanding of all of the things that they can do. We can kind of talk through them and hopefully give them ideas that they weren't even aware of. That could be exciting for them on how they can transform the space. So I love doing that.
Yeah. I always think that's so fun to, when you're walking through and, you help them create like that vision of what this place will look like once you're in there. Because we know home is, for all of us, even though we're in the business, home is still where I go home and, I kind of like dust off or, shed everything to kind of just be able to hunker down. So it's a big deal.
It is. It's a respite for everyone in this, the world is crazy out there. So we want to make sure that it's a space that speaks authentically to them too. I could walk through that same house with 3 different clients, and it's going to be 3 different, homes at the end of the day. So, and that's super important to us, is that we are designing homes to our clients, specifically tailored to them and how they want to live.
Yeah, I love that. So we also talked a little bit about this. I think I introduced you to one of my favorite books, Unreasonable Hospitality. I don't know if you picked it up yet.
No, I haven't.
You have to. It's great.
Okay, I will.
But it's about the concept of creating just unforgettable client experiences. And it's one of the things that we really work to challenge our agents to think about. Because back to what you had said, it's important to sort of execute on what our clients want. But I think the fundamentals that are even more important is how are we making them feel during the process. And with this book, which you are going to love when you do read it, but it just talks about some of the unreasonable things that you can do to, just make that client walk out of that experience with you saying, wow, Amy and her team, I've got to refer them. Do you have anything that you can recall that you've maybe done, or there was an experience where your clients walked out just sort of totally shocked by?
Yeah. I think, one of the best times for us is the installation, right? Everyone talks about that aha moment, that HGTV moment. Yeah. And we're actually,
Move the truck.
Right. And we're not doing it specifically for that moment. We are doing it because a home is so much easier for clients to conceptualize when it's all finished at one time. If we bring in the orange sofa by itself and we're not bringing in the rug and the chairs and the lighting, they're going to call us and go, I did not order this orange sofa. Take this orange sofa back, But when we can show the cohesiveness of the design all at once, that is when, it's a great feeling at the end of the project. So we definitely do installations. We'll have candles, we have music, we have charcuterie boards, we have champagne. But one of our funnest we've done is, it's a client whose last name is Carlson, and she actually owns a marketing firm, and she's really into marketing. And when they bought their house, she was kind of doodling and sent me this little memo that said, Ritz Carlson. Oh. So she did kind of a play on her name. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that so much. And she did a great logo. So what we did for the installation is we actually converted the front of the house, the living room, into a really deep and moody lounge. So we did all napkins that said Ritz Carlson. Oh, cute. We did towels throughout the house that were Ritz Carlson. And in the lounge, we also did a big sign that we hung on the wall that was made of metal that says Ritz Carlson in her logo. Cool. That was really fun, and they were just over the moon with it when they came in.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an unreasonable hospitality story.
There we go.
I like it.
I might make the book one day.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. All right, so I'm dying to ask, what are some of the biggest design trends that we are seeing right now in 2026?
Yeah, and I know so many designers say this, and I truly feel it. I'm not a trendy person. I'd say, so if I'm going to talk about a trend, I'm going to talk about designing authentically. I love that people are getting away from sameness and really designing for who they are as people and how they want to live. So I see a lot of people are maybe going to vintage stores and reupholstering pieces of furniture or finding accessories. I always think that's such a neat way. I'm tired, I'm going to say it, I'm tired of seeing the same look in every house, I just love that there is more texture, there's more color, and people are really living true to themselves. We have 2 homes up in the North Shore, and it's actually the most people think it's the wife who's running the design, but in these 2 separate homes, it's actually the husband that is running the designs, and he loves color and he loves pattern. And I love that he's even having his wife think outside the box, and we have just designed the neatest homes. So I love that it's truly about them. And I would say that one of these homes that they actually use the word weird. We even want it to be a little weird, but weird in a beautiful way. And it's just true to their family, and I absolutely love it. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things is I really love that we're getting out of that cookie cutter. I also love that we're also starting to see more movement in marbles and countertops and countertops in bathrooms, and that we're not just seeing, and I do love marble and I love Carrera, but that we're seeing a lot more bolder veining, and people aren't afraid.
Not just white.
Not just white, and not even just white on the cabinets, but not white on the countertops either. And that people are using it, up the backsplash and maybe even surrounding a hood. I think that's a lot of fun. Textures are super important, that we're, mixing metals, that we're mixing linen, we're bringing in woods, we're bringing in wool, that there's a lot of feeling of comfort in a home, and things are feeling very refined yet restorative at the same time.
I like that. Because I'll be honest, again, we just renovated our house. We did a rehab a year and a half ago, and it was like Herculean just to even get ourselves into the house, right? We were in a rental. It was getting us, the 2 dogs, the 2 kids, everybody situated. So I will be honest, there are a couple spaces in our house that have color and wallpaper, and then everything else is white right now because I was like, I just can't think about it. So now, we're going through that I'm saying that I'm curating my spaces, you know,
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
love
starting
that.
with the living room. We're doing
Yep.
built-ins and, you know, and I'm all about like, I kind of want to go with color. So what you're
Yeah.
telling me is color is
Yeah.
okay.
Color's
And the
great.
stuff that we like. I also want to ask a question, and I don't know if a lot of people out there are curious about this, but I also struggle with artwork. Because I feel like that's so personal, yet, you know, I kind of go like, we have this one piece of art. I think it's from Target. It's the bowl that everybody has. It's like that bowl that it's a black and white photo. I've seen it in multiple Zooms in people's kitchens,
Okay.
and we have it. I forget why we got it. It was at Target, but it's like, it drives me crazy because it's like, this isn't anything, you know, it's fine, but
Yeah.
you know, what's your take on like artwork and how do you
my
help people
gosh.
figure out how to curate it?
Art
Like that
is-
stuff behind you is my favorite artwork because it's pictures that I took of
Yeah.
our kids.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know, what is your take on? Because I think art is a very big part of designing a
I think
space.
art, I mean, I don't think a home is complete without art. I mean, I have done so many videos on art and I have interviewed so many local artists. It is so near and dear to my heart. I really love using local artists. And that doesn't always have to mean expensive, you know, and that doesn't always mean that you have to have a piece curated just for your home. There are some great art shows with up and coming artists, you know, Renegade Art Fair. There's so many great places that you can go. But I strongly, you know, think that people need to consider art in their home different than perhaps a bowl from Target. But also looking at having art framed. And framing is not a inexpensive adventure to go on at all. But I think it can really make a piece different. So you could have a very modern piece and get it framed in a great gold gilded frame. You know, that just makes that picture that you said you see everywhere looks different
Totally
than everyone
different.
else's, and no one's going to look at it the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could go on and on about art. That's a whole separate podcast for me, but I truly believe you know, inexpensive art can also be found when you travel. You know, I have art in my home from people who are painting by the riverside, you know, in Paris. And those can cost $16. But you take those home, they have meaning to you. There's a story behind them. That's what makes your home personal. Get them framed in a series. I think that's magnificent. Photos of your children, you know, make a gallery wall. All of that is personal. And it adds to conversation in your home as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love
huge
it.
fan of art.
I love that you said that because Molly and I were in Paris and we got a little Chanel print that she
Oh,
wanted.
yeah.
And I took it to Framebridge, which I'm giving them a plug.
Yeah,
but they
yeah,
do some
they're
pretty
great.
extraordinary
Yeah,
stuff.
they're-
They took this little black and white and turned it into the most glorious. It's like this maroon metallic frame with this beautiful
love.
matting. And she's like, I'm like, there's your first piece
It
of
is.
art.
It's
You know?
transformative
Yeah.
for sure.
She's going to, you know, keep it with her for
Yeah,
her
good
whole
for
life.
her. She's
Yeah.
got an art collector on your
I know,
hands.
I know. All right, I want to know this. Do you have any go-to design hacks, like small things that can make a big impact in a space?
Yeah, I think, you know, accessorizing, I think, is really important. You know, otherwise your home feels very sterile without it. There is a trick that designers use that's like low, medium, high. So making sure, you know, whether it's on your coffee table or whether it's on bookshelves, that you've got different heights and eeriness below each of those. So you can have a vase that sits right on the countertop, and then maybe you've got a platter that has 3 different legs that was made by a certain ceramicist, and then maybe you've got a layer of books, but you've got a bowl that sits on top of it. So you're layering things, you're adding in different heights, you're adding in some airiness underneath products. I think that works really well in furniture too. You know, you might have a sofa with a plinth base that sits fully on the carpet, and then you're going to want to have legs on your chairs that are maybe 4 inches off for some airiness, but then maybe your coffee table sits up on 12-inch legs. So you've got even more airiness. It just adds a lot of interest and not a lot of sameness. So that's a hack. I think people also fall short with lighting. You know, a lot of builders put in a lot of canned lighting. And that seems great when you walk in and you go, wow, this room is so light. I
It's
love
great
it.
for pictures when you're a real estate agent, but living,
yes,
I know.
right, it is. And then
I'm always dimming our lights. And
yes. And we need to talk about Calvins too when we get to light bulbs, and that's another hack. But, bringing in ambient lighting so that it's eye level. You've got some lamps, you've got some overhead lighting that's not quite as high as the cans, but maybe you've got some art lights, maybe you've got some sconces on the wall. Like, all of that matters to the emotion you feel in a space.
I love that.
And that's not a very expensive hack. I think, easy accessories like pillows and throws, those aren't things you need to spend a lot of money on, but you can go to Home Goods, and you can go to some retail stores and find some really neat pieces that will really liven up your space. Maybe add a texture, a bold new color, something you are afraid to use and you can just use a little bit of. I think those are nice options.
I also think like you kind of just have to go for it too. I think like I know for myself, I'm almost in paralysis sometimes because I'm so afraid of making a mistake in design, So what are some of your favorite brands? And maybe somebody who doesn't have the biggest budget, what are some of the biggest bang for your buck things? Like if you're looking at somebody's house and it's like, we can't do it all. Is there an order of priority? Kitchen versus family room versus basement? Like, what are some of the bigger places that you would say, if you were to start anywhere, start here? And then are there any just like brands or things that you feel like you've used that are really cost effective?
Okay. I for sure think the spaces you live in, so let's call it a family room and a kitchen. I think those are
You see it every day.
Oh
You're
my
in it
gosh,
every day.
for sure. And it matters, you know? And
yeah.
as a real estate agent, it matters when you go in to photograph a space. It also matters when you're living in it.
Yep.
So I'd say those spaces, making sure I've talked about scale, making sure you've talked about a sofa that maybe wasn't the right size. Scale of furniture and how it flows in a room is super duper important. And that goes all the way down to the ground, to the rug. Mm-hmm. A rug is super important. Make sure the front legs of the furniture minimum are on it. Or if you really want an exceptional living space, make sure all of the furniture is on the rug.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think window treatments make a huge statement. People they're like, no, we don't need window treatments, but they almost don't know what they're missing until they get them. And it's just a texture, it's for privacy. It has a purpose, but it's also for an amazing texture on the walls. And my rule of thumb with window treatments is high and wide. So you want to make sure that the rod is almost as close to the ceiling as you can get it, and that you want the window treatments to extend about 8 to 12 inches beyond the window.
Interesting.
So, and that's actually going to make the window, and it's going to make...
Doesn't it make the ceiling
it's
feel
gonna,
so much
yeah,
taller?
it's going to make the ceiling, and it's going to draw your eyes up. You see those homes where the window treatment stops right above the molding, and it just really brings that room down.
Yeah.
So this will, and people get all worried because they're like, well, the window is short. It doesn't matter. It draws your eye upward, and it makes the room feel grander than it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for those like 8.5, 9 feet ceilings, right?
Yeah.
That can make a huge difference, I think.
And I do want to say lighting. And I know I had talked about lighting, but lighting in a different sense, not just ambient lighting, but those lighting fixtures, they matter. And making sure they're human scale. They don't need to be these gigantic fixtures, that I think have become really popular, but they do need to have a presence in the room. And I think that will really make your room feel finished.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, we could talk for 5 hours,
Yeah, I
think.
can.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about philanthropy, because that's a really big part of our culture here at. And I know it's an important part for you too. And if you're comfortable sharing and telling us a little bit about the nonprofit that you founded.
Sure. As long as you don't mind if I get a little choked up.
No, I think it's such an important
thank you
message.
so much.
Yeah.
I started, it's been about 10 years. I started a charity called Under the Same Sky. And I actually got the name from, I was shopping at a brocante in southern France, and there was this amazing artist, and she had this beautiful painting out on the walkway, and it was a Frida Kahlo, and she had written the words Under the Same Sky. And I actually ended up buying that piece of art. I have it in our studio. And at the time, I had on the plane ride over to France for that specific trip, I had made a decision that I wanted to start a charity. And I had lost a brother to suicide. And so I really wanted to start a charity that was focused around mental health, but really focused around survivors and giving them a platform to talk, because I believe talk is healing. And so that was the basis of the charity. And Under the Same Sky, the words just struck me as something so heartfelt, and it really worked for our world. You know, like, we're all in this together. We're all under the same sky. We're all dealing with the same things. And when you need someone to talk to, just kind of look up to the stars. You've got millions of people rooting for you at that moment. Like, don't feel alone. Don't feel lost. Make a phone call. Say hello to someone on the street. I mean, I have stories I could tell about how important for people's mental health, just a little hello, you know, when you're passing by someone.
You just don't know what somebody else is going through.
No.
And you just even smiling.
Yes.
Anything could just change whatever's in their mind space.
It's
you know?
so true. I'm probably, like, people probably run from me on the streets, but I'm like, good morning. How are you? Good to see you. I love your coat. You know, like, because you don't, and I mean it truly too. It's authentic. But you really don't know. Think of when you get someone, think if you're like in a cross mood and someone walks by you and they say, hey, you know, how are you? And you're like, oh, good. It takes you kind of out of your mind and away from what you were thinking about, and it brings you into the present. You know, and I think that's just so important. So this charity was started, you know, for my brother, but also as a survivor. There's nothing more difficult to go through than the loss of a loved one through suicide. And so I wanted to bring kind of a network and a place for people to gather as well.
I love that. And, you know, when I heard about the name of the foundation, I also thought about how your brother is also under that same sky, right? So for all of the people who are here surviving, but also for all the people that they've lost, that they're out there, that everybody is still there and somehow, you know, cosmically, I think, connected. So I'm really sorry to hear about your brother, but
thank you.
I love that you channeled this into something that could help you, but help others as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So I want to go into, off of the seriousness. I don't know if you know that much about this podcast, Amy, but we go into a rapid fire series. And I was so excited about design. I don't have just one, but I have two rapid fires for you. Are you going to be ready for this?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so I want to dig just a little bit deeper into what you would say are good or bad design trends, or whether or not people should or shouldn't. So wallpaper or paint?
Wallpaper.
Okay, I love it. I love you. I have wallpaper and I'm adding it to my house.
I love it too.
Okay, this is for asking for a friend.
Okay.
Keep it red brick or paint it?
Paint it.
Okay.
That was a hard one.
Molly, Isabel, Patrick, did you hear that? Okay. Warm or cool tones?
Warm.
Okay. So are we getting away from gray and moving into tan and any other color, base colors?
Tan.
Do I dare say cream?
Beiges. Okay. Yeah, I'm not afraid of cream.
Okay.
Ochre, greens, you know, certain shades of pink. I think all of that just
What
warm
about yellow?
up an
I've always
environment.
had a hard time with yellow.
Well, there's different kinds of yellows, right? You know, I had mentioned, like, there's the ochre. You know, there's also a very bright sunshine yellow, but I think the warmer yellow tones, I've actually just come to love them over the last couple years.
Okay.
I never wanted yellow in my house.
Okay.
I love yellow. It's a mood changer.
Okay.
For sure. Having
right.
yellow in your home, all of you
All
out
right,
there,
Amy.
it is a mood changer.
We might lean in. We might
Okay.
lean in. All right. Open shelving or closed?
I'm a closed.
Okay.
But I do
keep
people
the
like,
clutter
but
inside.
I don't want people like seeing what's going on in there.
The open shelving is fake anyway. Let's face it. Like the open shelves that I have, they never change. They're perfect.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
all the crap is behind the doors.
Yeah.
Yes. Barn doors, in or out?
Out.
Okay.
That's a positive.
I'm sorry.
positive
I'm
they're
sorry.
out.
So many people out there. Joanna Gaines, I'm very sorry. Shiplap, in or out?
Out.
Okay. Are they replaced with anything? Barn doors or shiplap?
I'm good with millwork. I mean,
Okay.
there's so many, you know, millwork and doing just like trim. Trim is really inexpensive way to enhance your space.
Okay.
I mean, just little like window trim moldings on your wall is not that expensive, and it immediately adds a texture to your space.
Yes.
Different than shiplap, I think a more elevated look.
More classic. I
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
probably. Yes. All right. A few more rapid fires
Okay.
getting into. If you could design the home of anyone in the world, and I am available,
Okay.
who would it be?
I'm going to go with Andy Cohen.
Oh,
I
bet
think
that would be
he's so fun,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just think he would just have this great personality and would be really fun to work with.
He'd have a lot of colors and a lot of
I'm
patterns.
so good with that. I'm all for it. You hear me, Andy?
Yes. All right. All right. So people probably don't know this about you, but you've already summited Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
Whew, girl, that is impressive. What is the next big endurance challenge on your list?
It is actually renovating my condo. That is
that gonna be harder than climbing Mount
it's going to be
Kilimanjaro?
harder than Mount Kilimanjaro.
Hardest client you've
I
ever
say
had?
every designer needs a designer because we know too much.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh my God, make a decision. I'm making my team make the decisions.
Good.
Closed eyes, just go pick,
Yeah.
and I don't care.
You just need to tell them, you know what I like. I'll be back in a couple months, and I want my big reveal. Right?
Exactly. Oh
I don't
my
want
God,
to
I
just
love
see.
that.
I don't want to just
Yeah.
see the orange couch alone.
They're stressing
right?
out as they hear this.
All right, this is a great one for a lot of our agents out there. You have over 100,000 followers on Instagram. What's your number one tip for agents who are trying to grow their social media following?
Don't be afraid to get in front of the camera. And I know you've probably heard that a million times, but people want to see your personality and they want to see what you have to say.
Yeah.
And it matters.
Yep, I love it. Even if you are saying things like shiplap and barn doors are out.
Doesn't matter. You're going to find your people. You will find your people.
Yes. All right. Out of the 50 plus countries that you've traveled, you've done a lot, my friend.
Thank you.
Which one stands out as your favorite?
That is a really hard question, but I think the most interesting place I've been to is the Atacama Desert in Chile.
Wow.
It is like being on Mars. It is
Really?
a whole other world. I can't even explain it. You must go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Put it on my list, my friends. All right. Last question. What's your favorite restaurant in Chicago?
Lake Colonial, without a
So
doubt.
great. And now there's one in Lake Forest. so you
I
can
know,
head up
and I've
if
been
you
there
like.
too.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good. That one is fabulous.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Amy, I feel like honestly we could talk for another few hours.
Yes.
I clearly might need some, side therapy and consulting. But thank you for joining me. And
This was
I hope,
such a treat. Thank you for having me.
it
This
was
was
great.
really a joy, and it went by so fast.
I know. See, easy peasy.
yeah.
I told you. All right, everybody out there, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got a lot of great insight from Amy, just like I did. Enjoy your day, your week, and we'll see you next time on Core Values.